first question, 6 marks. Outline the similarities in and the differences between the structures of DNA and RNA molecules. Okay, so if we look at the similarities, remember DNA and RNA are both polymers. And for any question which comes up like this, you need to start off by saying polynucleotide or polymer of nucleotides. So if we draw a table, now actually I'm just going to list similarities. We're going to say that both are a polynucleotide. Okay, you could say this. I've just learned this word because in mock sims I've seen it being used so often. So just learn this word, polynucleotide. Or if you wanted to, you could write polymer of nucleotides. I'm going to write that in brackets. Polymer of nucleotides. I've seen this being used as well. But just I stick to one word, polynucleotide. Okay. So we're looking at the differences in the structure, similarities and differences in the structures of DNA and RNA molecules. Okay. Both of them have cytosine, guanine, and adenine as the nitrogenous bases. Okay, so both contain adenine. Don't say thymine because RNA doesn't contain thymine. Adenine, cytosine, and guanine. And I would say one more, 3 similarities and 3 differences. Both of them have phosphodiester bonds. Okay, so both have phosphodiester bonds. Okay, and remember these bonds are present between the pentose sugar and the phosphate. Okay, and in DNA you have 2 strands running parallel to each other, whereas in RNA you only have a single strand which is running down. Now if you look at the differences between RNA and DNA. Okay, and whenever you're talking about differences, always state what one has, but also state what the other one has. You have to make a comparison, or the mock scheme won't give you that mark. Okay, so differences over here, we've said that they have, actually we've not said they have a pentose sugar, but a difference would be DNA has deoxyribose. So DNA has deoxyribose, whereas RNA has ribose as a pentose sugar. I've just remembered that over here, you could have said a similarity to be both of them have a pentose sugar, both of them have a phosphate group. Okay, so DNA has a deoxyribose, whereas RNA has a ribose. We've also said that DNA has thymine, whereas RNA has uracil. Okay, so we're making that comparison. We're saying whereas. Okay, and then finally, DNA is long. DNA is long. RNA is short. Okay, we made that comparison again. If we look at the mock scheme, I've stated 3 points over here to balance, 3 points for similarities, and 3 points for differences. Okay, so it's a similarities, polymer of nucleotides, which we had, we said polynucleotide. Nucleotide has pentose, base, and phosphate group. We didn't mention this point, but I did say you could mention it. Cytosine, guanine, and adenine as bases, and phosphodiester bonds. Deoxyribose versus ribose, thymine versus uracil, long versus short. You could have also said double helix, double-stranded versus single-stranded, and that's what would get you 6 marks there. Okay, it's a comparison question. Normally a question you would see at the end of a biology paper 1. Okay. Next question, it says the diagram below shows part of a DNA molecule. Name the type of bond between complementary base pairs, adjacent nucleotides in a DNA strand. So complementary base pairs are between these base pairs over here, and we saw that that is hydrogen bonds. So the first one is going to be hydrogen bonds. So we've got hydrogen bonds and adjacent nucleotides in a DNA strand. Remember, between nucleotides, between the deoxyribose of one nucleotide and the phosphate of another, we've got phosphodiester bonds being formed. Okay, so we've got phosphodiester bonds being formed. Okay, hydrogen bonds, phosphodiester bonds. It also says except covalent bond, but that will not always be the case. So just write phosphodiester bond to be on the safe side. Okay, next question says describe the structure of DNA. Okay, so what I'm going to say first, because it says describe the structure of DNA, I'm always going to start off with my point. It's a polynucleotide or a polymer of nucleotides. We've already seen that on one mark scheme. Let's say if it says it on this one. Structure of DNA. So we know that each nucleotide is made up of a deoxyribose, a phosphate group, and a nitrogenous base. So we've got deoxyribose plus nitrogenous base plus phosphate makes up each nucleotide. Okay, what bonds are present? Hydrogen bonds are present between complementary base pairs. You've got hydrogen bonds present between complementary base pairs. And then we've got phosphodiester bonds present between nucleotides. And then finally between complementary base pairs. Oh yeah, one more thing. Whenever you say complementary base pairs, always list the complementary base pairs. I've missed that out there. So we've got adenine with thymine, and always write down the full name. Sometimes they say reject A to T, C to G. Cytosine to guanine. What else? It's also a double helix. And I think that's everything. We've got 5 points there. Okay, so it's a polymer of nucleotides. Again, I told you polymer of nucleotides except polynucleotide. Each nucleotide formed from deoxyribose, phosphate, nitrogenous base, phosphodiester bonds, double helix, adenine, thymine, and cytosine, and guanine, hydrogen bonds present. 5 marks. Okay. Final question, describe how a phosphodiester bond is formed between two nucleotides within a DNA molecule. This is a simple sort of look at a mark scheme, make a flashcard of your answer, learn it before the exam question. How is a phosphodiester bond? It is formed from the condensation reaction between a phosphate of one nucleotide and the deoxyribose of another. So it's a condensation reaction between the phosphate of one nucleotide and the deoxyribose of another. Okay, that's basically how a phosphodiester bond is formed. Condensation reaction between phosphate and deoxyribose, and is in bold. Okay, it also says catalyzed by DNA polymerase, but we've not looked at DNA polymerase yet, and you don't need it for this question as well. If you, as long as you have the first 2 points, you've bagged your first 2 marks.